Hi, good morning, everyone. We are here for our newest edition of Tell 'em Tab Business Office Hours. It is the day before Thanksgiving, so we're all excited because Turkey Day is coming up. We are here today. We have a lovely guest. Our friend Jamie is here with us today. She's going to get into the HR side of things and help us with some of that conversation. But first, we want to go ahead and give a shout out to our sponsor, real quick. I'm going to bring up her page and tell you a little bit about Miss Danica, and then we're going to circle back and start off with Tab and Jamie and get into the conversation for today. So, y'all hang on with me. We're going to share. Alrighty, so this is Miss Danica's page. Her company is called Live Your Best Life Travel Now. And so what she does is she is more than a travel agent. She is more about a travel planning concierge level of business. So just so y'all know, when you go to seek her out, this is the beginning of her page. There she is. That's her lovely picture, Miss Danica there. So when you go to check her out, you know where you are, and it's pretty easy website, lybltravelnow.com, and we'll have that posted for everyone if they want to get into it. All righty.
And we'll mention too that it is in our tribe. When you're online in our community, the sponsor page is there also, and these recordings are there.
So you have all the access to all the things in the tribe, all the recordings, all the conversations, all the posts, and access to anyone who we're talking about who's doing all the magical things to make life and small business better. So we're here today, like I said, with Tabitha and Jamie. So if you haven't joined us before, Tabitha is our founder of TSAT Accounting Solutions, and she's, the brains behind all of these fantastic things that we do. This is her passion, helping small businesses and small business owners and entrepreneurs grow and thrive and figure out how to do all the things. So this show, this recording, this Zoom, all that we're doing and turning into a podcast is her brainchild to try to bring that to all of y'all out there. So, hi, Tab. Thanks. And our lovely Jamie, we know she has a significant line of experience in HR. She's worked for lots of different companies, which I'm going to let her read off her whole credential list to you. But this is Jamie, and she's going to get into the conversation with us today. Jamie, please tell us about yourself.
Sure. So, do you want me to start with my business or you want me to start personal?
Yes.
You can,
Both?
yeah, wherever you want,
Okay.
wherever you want. Yeah.
Great. Okay. So I am the founder and owner of Savvy HR Consulting. We are a fractional HR firm. We provide HR services and consulting to small and medium-sized businesses. So essentially, they can receive executive level HR strategy and support, but without the cost of a full-time HR leader. So we provide on a fraction of the basis, whatever they need, a couple hours, or if it's just a project, whatever they need. So Vanessa, you mentioned a bunch of companies. So I have 25 years of HR experience. I spent 20 of those years in Fortune 500 companies, mainly in government contracting. So I spent 17 years with Lockheed Martin. Then I moved on to Leidos, which is Leidos, that's up north. And then I came to Texas to work for KBR, their space division right across from NASA Johnson Space Center. And then I have spent the last 5 going on 6 years doing consulting. So my first 4 years of consulting, I spent working for a small firm in the DC area, which is where most of my network is from. And then I am not quite in business 2 years yet. We're coming up on 2 years in February. I know, so exciting, right? They say if you make it past the 1 year mark, you're good, right? So that's what we're hoping for. But essentially, the reason I opened my business is because small business owners need the same level of support that, larger corporations need. And a lot of times, small business owners are doing everything, right? They're either a solopreneur or they have, 7 employees, 10 employees, and they're literally doing everything. They're their whole C-suite, right? They're their CFO, their COO, their CHRO, their, CEO, all those different things. And when you reach different levels of employees, you hit different employment laws. And if you're not paying attention, you can get yourself in some real trouble. I've actually joked about maybe having two sets of business cards, one as my actual business card, but then having another set of cards that look like those little Monopoly cards that say get out of jail free. So that if somebody asks me for a business card, I give them the get out of jail free card first, and then they look at it and they're like, "What is this?" And I'm like, "Well, here you go." So,
That would be great.
yeah, yeah.
So what
So,
got you into, oh, go ahead.
go ahead. No, I was going to ask if you had any questions.
Yeah, what got you into HR in the beginning?
So, good question. So, I was the first person in my family to go to college. And so that was a goal of mine, wanted to go to college. My SAT scores probably didn't say that I was college ready, but luckily back in the, 90s, they started, the ACT. And so I took the ACT and I did better on the ACT. But anyhow, first person to go to college, I had no clue what I wanted to do though, like what I wanted to study. So this is when the course catalog was a book and it was like as thick as the phone book, right? It wasn't online. So I sat down and looked through that book and I found which classes could I take that counted for two things. So, like, there was an astronomy class. Well, I wasn't interested in astronomy, but I could take one class and it counted as like two different sciences. I'm taking that, right? So I was just trying to find classes, that doubled up, right? And I had to take, 101 as a freshman, right? So I was taking 101s of a bunch of things just to see what I liked. And I took sociology 101. And sociology is the study of people in groups. And so psychology is more like individual, right? Whereas sociology is how do people behave in groups? So, like, how do people behave at a concert when things are going great versus when things are going bad, right? So, like, we've seen many examples of concerts where, something happens and do people react how they would normally react, or do they go with the crowd and make the bad worse, right? And then from sociology, there were a lot of different things that you could study off of there. So one was social work, and a lot of people went into social work. That wasn't really my thing. I'm a big believer in you got to help yourself. Like, I'll help you, but you also have to be willing to help yourself. Like, I'm not going to do it for you kind of thing. So I just didn't think that that was going to be, for me. I did do criminology for a little while. And then I thought, wait, I don't think I want to be around criminals the rest of my life. So I was like, now what am I going to do? So then I did a minor in human resources because at the time it was just a minor. It wasn't a major. It wasn't a whole degree. So I majored in sociology and had a minor in human resources. And so straight after my bachelor's degree, I went to work for Lockheed Martin. And they had a wonderful program. I don't know if they still had it, but they would pay for your degree. So I was like, oh, I'm going to go back and get my master's degree, right? And I think they probably had some caps and some limits on it, and, they didn't pay your parking fee or whatever, but, they paid your tuition and your books or whatever. So instead of getting a master's in HR, I decided to get an MBA because I thought, in my mind, I thought businesses still think HR is a little fluffy, right? And so I wanted them to understand that, like, I wasn't just getting these HR degrees, that I knew business, that I understood business, right? Now, could I pull out all those financial reports and explain it to you again? Maybe not, but I at least now know and understand how if I pull this trigger in HR, it's going to impact something over here that could possibly impact, contracts or finance or a supplier. And so having really that kind of what I would call like a systems mindset or like circular thinking, just understanding that like what I'm going to do in HR or suggest or recommend that you would do in HR is could and might likely have an impact other places besides HR. So one of the reasons, so my logo, if you notice, my logo is a circle. And so it's black, gray, and white, which people might think is boring, but I did that very intentionally. So the circle is because I do think that it all goes together, right? Even what, Tabitha, you do as a CFO, right? A decision you make might affect the people, right? Might affect the contract, might affect, a supplier, right? So to me, it's all got to be, everybody's got to be working together, right, to keep moving forward.
Yeah.
And then I did, the black circle, there's a little bit of a white circle, and there's gray. Because in my mind, HR isn't black and white. It's very gray, right? Because, you have the law that is black and white that you have to follow, but anytime humans are involved, there's gray.
Yep.
So,
Perfectly said.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely. I love that. That's so accurate. And that's, I think, the point that you said about a lot of small businesses think HR is fluff. Yeah, I think that's so true. And they're like, yeah, we only have 10 employees. Like, we got it. We know what we're doing. Okay. Yeah. Until you don't,
right.
or until you scale up and then you run into now you have 20 or 30 and you're in a different set of legal parameters because of the number of people that you have. I think a lot of people don't even know that those numbers automatically put you in another box potentially,
Right.
So that I'm glad you brought that up because I think that's very unknown territory for a lot of people.
Well, and I've had small businesses, 7 to 10 employees call me when they've fired somebody, right? The person's done something wrong. They fired them. They just said, you're fired, right? The person leaves, they go file unemployment. And then the business owner gets the unemployment claim and they call me at like, I need your help. And I'm like, okay, well, there's only so much I can help you with at this moment. Like you're already in the hole. Do you know what I mean? Like there are things we could have done prior to this that would have set you up to have a really good like case to appeal this. I'll try to help you and guide you through where you are, but there's really a lot of proactive things that HR can do that business owners think like, oh, I don't want to spend the money on that, right? Because it's all these proactive measures. But what we're essentially doing is eliminating risk. So you're paying the money out front, but you're paying to eliminate the risk of some future expense. So
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Oh, I want to put that on a recording and just go around and record you saying that for people to hear. Like, please hear this. This is the value. You are saving yourself future heartache and headache and all the things. So yes.
well, and I'm sure it's the same way with Tab, right? Doing her CFO work, right? Like if somebody comes to her early, she can probably save them in maybe 50K or 100K in taxes by telling them, oh, track these things throughout the year or, do different things, right, to save money. But when you come to her on, January 15th and you say, oh, I got my tax bill, I owe all this money. Guess what, hon? The
Right.
year is ended. You can't do it. We can help you next year, right? I can help you
Yeah.
in 2026, but
Yeah.
I can't solve last year's problem.
Yes.
Yes,
So,
exactly. Yes. And I think that's the hard part, for the small business owners is just, it's like we always say, small business owners don't know what they don't know. They know their product and their service. That's how they've made it to market. And that's wonderful and kudos. However, there's all these other things, besides your product that you're doing that someone else can help you with. So that's a big part of our goal with these sessions is to make sure we give people that it starts to expose them to that information so they can find people like a CFO advisor, like a fractional HR person that they can contact and get some help and get ahead. So thank you again for being here because this is
yeah,
so important for us to
absolutely.
share with people.
I want to say to add on, not just scaling up, but even if you have the 7 to 10 employees, the retention. We are doing so much more now to keep good employees, keep good staff. It's a whole different game. And as business owners are hopefully getting smarter in retention, the employees, the team members are getting smarter in what they want also. And it's like now you're in a different game. You have to know what you can and can't do, what's going to affect. You can't give one money and the other one you don't. There's just different things that you have to take in consideration. So HR goes even further into the retention and retaining your team that you do have, even if it's small. So that's very important. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, totally agree. I saw, TJ was on your podcast a couple weeks ago, and he said this line, and I had to write it down because I'd never heard it before. And he said, it's cheaper to keep them And I
Yes,
think
it
he said
is.
it was maybe like
Oh,
a
yeah.
derivative of like cheaper to keeper, like when, you're getting a divorce or something
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that. But
yeah,
I was like, I have got to write that down
yeah,
because that is totally employee retention. It is cheaper to keep the ones that you have than it is to find new.
yes.
It
But
is.
I think the other thing is when people think of employee retention, I think they think they have to spend money, right? Like you
Yeah,
just said, oh, give
yeah,
somebody money. There
yeah,
are so many things that you could do as a small
yeah,
business owner that doesn't involve money,
yeah,
right? And one of the big one as a small business owner that is really free to you is flexibility, right? So I get that, you maybe have a company that your doors are open 9 to 5, right? And you need people to be there 9 to 5. But I can tell you, as a single mom, that if you were willing to let me be off from 10 to 11 so I could run down to the school and see my kid perform in the play or the veterans program or, whatever was going on, if I could just have that hour and then I'll come right back, that's going to mean a ton to me. If I'm allowed to do that maybe just a couple of times a year and I can still work the rest of the day, heck, I'll work through lunch, but being able to be there for those like little moments, that can gain you a lot of loyalty, especially when you're working with parents.
yeah. Loyalty is the key word. And it's
Yes.
just, it's no different than you go to a restaurant and you have a loyalty program. Having that
Yeah.
loyalty program with your team, that's so critical. And it comes back to the strategy, like you were talking about. We don't, yeah, everybody's so stuck on the old traditional way. You have to keep moving and evolving. So, yeah, if your storefront is open 9 to 5, if you have a team of 6 or 7 people, why do all 6 or 7 have to be there 9 to 5? Is it really the way? I mean, does it really have to work that way? Could you rotate shifts or, where some people come in earlier and get some things done in the back or, admin, back office, things like that, and then overlap so other people can finish the day? There's so many things that you can do, and that flexibility is possible. But sometimes us business owners, we're like, this is the way it works. This is how I've seen it, and it can't work any other way. I mean, we did that for years. We did Monday through Friday. No, actually, we didn't. We started Monday through Thursday in the very beginning, but a lot of people do Monday through Friday, and tax season. That's it. Okay. So in tax season, now we work Fridays. No,
No,
there's
you probably work 80 to 100 hours during tax
on
season.
Monday through Thursday, though. We will go hard Monday through Thursday. And that's again back to the loyalty. My people were like, I will work sun up, sundown, Monday through Thursday for you, but you keep giving me my Friday and the weekend, it doesn't matter. We'll do all of it Monday through Thursday. So it's just, yeah, flexibility is an awesome piece of retention and free, like you said.
Well, and just like you said about tax season, like I'm sure you have employees year round, maybe you have some seasonal, but if you have some that are there during tax season and they're willing to work sun up to sundown, well, I don't know what your off period is, what your off season is. Maybe it's September, right? If somebody came to you in September and said, "Hey, I'd like to take a month off. I want to go, travel the world."
Yeah.
If they've been loyal to you and they've showed you that sun up and sundown and all these other things, then you might say, okay, like if we have an emergency, could we call you? And they might be like, well, I'm going to go backpacking in the Grand Canyon, so I'm
Good
not really going
luck.
to have cell service. But, those kinds of things still allow people to meet their personal goals, do the things that they want to do, but then also have, a great job waiting for them when they come back from, their backpacking trip.
Yeah. And I love that because the world is very different now with, since COVID and all of the remote working, plus just the advent of, or, the evolution of technology. It is so much more possible to be flexible, to allow the work to be done here, there, or around the corner. So long as, you have a good relationship, you've set up your standards and your list of like, okay, this is what we need from you, and this is when we need it. If your people can meet that, if they can produce, then why not? Like, give them that option, at least give them the option, try it, because it does buy that loyalty. It does give that flexibility. It's all those things that creates a happier, healthier, more beautiful culture as well, and then everyone is who's invested is even more so invested because that's the other thing we invest so much in our businesses, but getting our team to have that buy-in and really believe in the entire thing as well, that's another way that you can do that. So I just love that. And it's changing the game for the future. Like we're talking to our kids about going to college. What do I want to be when I grow up? But it's so much more open now. You can literally do anything. You can go anywhere in the world and work now with certain degrees and stuff like that. So I just think people, like you said, just kind of opening up to that, like, hey, we don't necessarily have to model it after the traditional let's let's try it for a month. Let's throw that schedule out and put in a new one, and let's just see what happens. Also maybe just experimenting with it a little bit here and there. You don't have to do a tremendous overhaul of your entire operation. If that's too scary, try one Friday a week. We're gonna leave at 12 o'clock and see how
Well,
that goes. Does the
yeah, and
world
just
end or is everything okay?
it's gonna be just
Hey,
fine.
It will be,
you
trust
know,
me.
then because I understand for small business owners, like so many small business owners hold on like this, which we do understand. But again, y'all don't have to do this. We want everybody to feel better about things a little bit. So
Well, and I think, like you said, experiment, try things, and as long as you're communicating to your staff that, like, if the staff is asking for something Fridays after, Fridays off, if you can come up with an idea in your head and then communicate to them, okay, I've heard you, you want Fridays off. We're going to try this, right? And then you try it for a season, a period, right? When I worked for Lockheed Martin for, 17 years, um, it was like early 2000s, right? Everybody was still in 8 to 5 mode, 8 to 5, an hour for lunch. You're wearing suits, you're wearing pantyhose, heels, it was the whole, old school deal, right? And then over time, they experimented with, I want to say it was like Fridays off during summer. And so maybe I think it was every other Friday, and it was not, so it was like a 980. So you worked 9 days, 80 hours, every other Friday off. And they did it during the summer as an experiment to see how well it went. And then they implemented it. Well, now I'm pretty sure maybe not all of their employees, maybe it's just different divisions. I'm pretty sure most of them now are working 410s. So they're working Monday through Thursday, 10 hours a day, and having that Friday, Saturday, Sunday off. So you kind of never know until you try it, but you've got to communicate to the employees what you're doing. I've heard what you're saying. Let's try this. We're going to try it for 3 months. And then after those 3 months, I'll evaluate and I'll make a decision by, X date. Because I think the other thing, Vanessa, about what you were saying is also generational, right? All of the different generations have different expectations. And so you were talking about your son and, what they expect. But I know I've lived all up and down the East Coast, but at one point I moved from Florida to Maryland and I started a new job and it was a higher level position. And I was pretty much in the office, working like 40 hours in the office, right? I was a newly single mom at the time. I had a 3-year-old. And so I had to conform to daycare hours, right? Because he's not in school yet. So I got to be there at certain times or I'm getting charged, what, $1 a minute, right? So I've got to conform to these hours. So that's what I was doing. And then he's young, he's going to bed early. I'm popping open the laptop after he's going to bed and I'm working for another 2 or 3 hours. But no one's seeing that, visually, right? They're seeing it on a time card, but no one's visually seeing that Jamie's doing that. And I would say probably 6 months into the job, I got called into the VP's office and was questioned about my hours and what I was doing and what I was working. And I was so confused because I was like, I'm probably putting in 50, 55 hours, but I'm not being seen for all those 55 hours, right? So I flipped to kind of what you said, Vanessa, which I loved and is a whole performance factor is what are the outcomes? What do you need me to do? Because once I caught on to at first I was confused and taken aback of like, why are we having this conversation, right? And then I flipped it to like, okay, wait, is there anything that you've asked me for that I haven't given to you? Have I missed any deadline? And the answers were no. Every kind of, I had 3 or 4 questions that I kind of asked, and it was like, no, you haven't missed a deadline. No, you don't owe me anything. No, I'm not missing anything. And so then I was like, so I don't understand what the problem is. If you're getting everything you need. And I did at the time take the time to explain like, hey, do you realize that at night I'm working these extra hours? No, not that I'm seeing. But what had happened was there was, an older woman in the office. She was probably 20 years older than me. She had been there for a very long time. I was the newbie. I had just moved there. They didn't know who I was. And she saw me coming and going. And so I think she ultimately said something to somebody. And maybe that was, maybe she had good intentions, right? Maybe she thought I was doing time fraud, or I don't know what she thought, right? But I think that was totally what the deal was, that, so I made a change in my way of doing, in such that when I came in the office, I walked a whole different way to my, like when I came in the building and got off the elevator, I walked a whole different way to my desk, so that that individual didn't see when I walked by, because I was like, is this person like tracking my every move, But it was like, I shouldn't have to do that, right? And the question should have been asked differently. But I had to share that story, Vanessa, because when you said about what are the outcomes, like that is so true. Because if you put an HR task in front of me, I might be able to complete it in 2 hours, but Tabitha, you might take longer, and Vanessa, you might take even longer, right? So what is the task? What's the outcome? I mean, this whole leads into a whole performance discussion, right? Does it matter, if I'm a part-time employee and you're expecting me to work 20 hours a week and you say, I need you to do these 3 things this week? Well, if I got them done in 10 hours, do you want me to sit here for 10 more hours? Or do you want me to come to you and say, hey, I've completed these 3 tasks, happy to go home? Or if there's other tasks you want to give me, I'm happy to do that to fill the 20. It's all about like how much you trust your employees, and what are you doing with them, right? One week you might say, yeah, go home, I don't have anything for you to do. But if they're always coming to you and say, I completed this and I've got 5 more hours if you want me to do something, like, wouldn't you much prefer that? The person's being productive, they're being more efficient.
Yeah.
Like, we could have a whole performance discussion about that.
It's all about the results. That's
Yes.
what people have to focus on. I have to do a lot of that in my coaching, reminding owners, calm down. Did you get the results that you were looking for? Well, yeah, but no. Did you get the results? Then why are you worried about it? It's not worth the stress. You have so many things to worry about and get done. It is not worth the time. So I get it. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. And I think so many people, have been through those things where someone else was clocking them, and it's like,
Yes.
well, what's going on? I know I've been in that same boat before too. And I'm like, but same question. I'm like, am I missing anything though? And the answers again were, no, everything's good. So then the conversation changed. Yes. So it's so great for, people to see that, but for the owners to be ahead of that, that's what, again, that's something valuable we can offer here, is like giving that to people, like, hey, like you said, what are they doing? Are they doing it right? Are they excelling? Yippee, high five. Do they want to do more? Let's have them do it, because then we're all raising the standards and elevating the companies, and that those are ultimately our goals. So gosh, it's so important. I love these conversations. Thank you, Jamie.
Well, and in the goal, even in that performance discussion and that goal discussion, we can continue to pull that thread and talk about motivation, right? Like, what are people's different motivations, right? Because, at the time of that story I just shared, I was in my early 30s. I was a grown adult. I understand that I'm supposed to work 40 hours a week. I wasn't 16 years old and a new employee. So I think that's the other thing that you have to understand. What are the motivations of your employee, right? Do you have a teenager who's just here for the summer? They need 3 months of work. Okay, great, right? Do you have a mom who wants to work part-time? They want to be available for their kids, so they kind of like a 9 to 3 situation, right? Can you make that work? Just in the scenario you explained earlier, Tabitha, you've got a store, it's open 9 to 5, there's 6 to 7. There's 6 to 7 employees, right? Yeah. Do you need everybody there 9 to 5? Like, what if somebody wants to work 7 to 2? Could you close the store at 5, and maybe the person that wants to work at 7 comes in and they clean in the morning, or they stock the shelves in the morning instead of somebody staying late at night? Like, there's all kinds of things that have to be done if you can just be like creative with the ideas. And sometimes I think as business owners, we think we have to have all the answers, right? And so when an employee comes to you and requests that, feel free to say, okay, well, do you have any idea how that might work?
Yeah.
Right. So if the person says, I'd really prefer to work 7 to 2, I need to be home to take care of somebody or whatever, right at 2 o'clock, put it back on the employee and say, do you have any ideas how that might work? If the store's not open till 9, what would you do from 7 to 9? Right. And then if they don't know, then say, okay, well, go think about it and come back to me in a day or two and let me know what are the tasks that you're going to complete between 7 to 9. Then I, as the business owner, don't have a decision to make at this moment, right? The employee's going to go off, they're going to come back and they're going to say, well, I'll clean or I'll vacuum or I'll stock the shelves or, maybe they'll come back and tell you on Monday they're going to do this and on Tuesday they're going to, and it's a rotational cleaning. They're going to clean the windows or I don't know, they're going to polish the floor, right? These bigger tasks that never get done. Now I just have to make a decision about yes or no. I don't have to come up with the plan of how this is going to get done. I just have to, can I make this work? And once again, go back to the experiment. Okay, we'll try it for a month and we'll see if it works.
Yeah.
But it's all about the motivation. What does that person, need or want? What are they trying to get out of the job?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
Jamie, I don't know if you're aware of this, but at one time I had 5 different generations working for me. So that was real fun.
Yeah, I'm sure.
A lot of learning and adjusting and listening and you include them all so that you get their buy-in. You include them all because they have some wisdom, no matter what generation they are, that they can put their perspective in and someone else can go, oh, I never thought of that. That would work. And so just getting that, and I feel like that is in my company, that's an HR task, is that hat is bringing the team together and saying, how can we make this work so the CFO gets the results that they want financially, the CEO gets the results they want strategically, and then we take care of the team also. So just figuring out what, like you said, motivations and their personalities. Because even though there are 5 different generations, there are also 5 different individuals. Like you were saying, I had a couple single moms, I had married moms, I had a married dad with multiple kids that he was really using work to escape from them. Yeah.
So he wanted to stay late.
Yeah,
he was working Saturday.
But again, his motivation. He's like, I love this Monday through Thursday. Let's stay longer. And then everything's done when I go home. And then the weekend is mine to tackle.
Right. And he probably sat all day on a Saturday on a field, right? On a baseball field or a soccer field.
And he got to do the things that he wanted to do. So it worked out great. Yeah. So their personalities, their motivations, their personal goals. I love what you said that before. We always look at what their personal goals are so that we can line them up with their career goals in the company. Because if I'm thinking they're going to grow into this leader or this whatever supervisor director position, and they're over here, oh, I just want to clock in and do the best I can, but I don't want to do all that. You're going to clash. Yes. And then you're going to have the issues. And so again, back to people think they don't need C-suite help because they only have a few employees or they're small. It's wrong. You may not need the hundreds of thousands of dollars of the expense, but you need the help. We don't want to say managing. We want to corral and love our team,
lead and facilitate.
Yes, and the business to be better every day. So people are scared of the C-suite titles, but it's the strategic level that they're needing that they don't think about. It's like it's no longer you and one other person who just got it all done. Now you've got more personalities, more feelings, especially in an office full of women. I'm sorry about it. Sometimes I get, hey, I need another male because we're getting a little too many women in one room.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and I think also, in that situation where you have five generations, let's say you had five things on your plate. These are the things I wanted to accomplish this year, right?
Mhm.
You as the CEO can sit in the CEO of the CFO, that's you, Tabitha.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
can sit in your office and decide who's going to do those tasks, and you can make that decision and you can take all that brain power of yours, right? Or you could get the team together and talk about what are the things that you need, right? Because let's say you have a task of, you've got some big data entry project, right? You're going to take all these old files and you're going to move them into a system, or you're going to move from one system to another system, right? Well, all of us, I think, would mostly think data entry, oh, we could give that to, an entry level employee, a low level employee, a teenager, a college student, right? They're not going to make a decision. They're just data entry, right?
Mhm.
Well, what if somebody who's, older used to do data entry as their job and they actually really enjoy that? Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
They
Yeah.
might say, hey, I'll do the data entry task. If somebody wants to take these other tasks, I'll do the data entry task, right? Maybe one of your other goals is, hey, we need to have a bigger presence on TikTok. Well, guess what? You better
Not
find your
gonna be
youngest
me.
employee. You
Yeah.
better find the youngest employee you have and
Yes.
assign them the TikTok
Yes.
project, right?
Yes.
Because I don't even, I'm not good. I shared a
Right.
video yesterday. Oh no, that was Instagram. See, I shared
See,
a
now
video
they
and I
know which
wanted to
one you're
put
on.
words on it and I couldn't even figure that out.
Well,
But,
you're doing more than
talking,
I am.
but instead of trying to make all the decisions by yourself,
Yes.
put it out to the team. Like
Yeah.
you said, there's so many different factors, generations, personality, motivation, what they enjoy doing, right? And don't make all the decisions yourself.
Yep.
And then hire people like Tabitha and I to help you make these decisions.
And then Vanessa to implement.
Yes, there you go,
Yeah.
right?
Yes. So
I mean, and
I'm in my company, the my organizational chart, which seems to be foreign to a lot of business owners now, but
Oh,
I'm teaching them how to do organizational charts. But mine is I am on the bottom as the CEO, president, owner, whatever you want to call it, founder. On top, instead of flipping it, everybody's under me, I'm on the bottom. They are across the board. They're the high level. I am their support. We run everything as a team. I do make the final decisions, yes, for the business, but if it involves the team and any kind of workflow systems, I try to include them, or like not include, I try to get their buy-in and them to make the overall decision and set up the system. I'm there to guide them to make sure it works for everyone, but it's ultimately them because they have to do it. They're the ones in it every day. So it never works. It's never ever worked. I've learned this the hard way. When I pick a system, I pick the thing and then I tell them to go implement it. It does not work because they didn't pick it themselves. They have to get the buy-in. There's something that has to click for them that this is good for them. So presenting the options might be my job. Hey, I know we're struggling with this issue. You guys have come to me with this. Here's some options. I might do that. But a lot of times it's brainstorming. We go away for our annual retreats and think about these things. And what can we do? How can we make it better for everybody? And I'm telling you, they come up with some much better ideas than I do. I mean, I can do it for my clients because I'm out of the box and not in
right.
it every day. But in my company, I'm in it every day. So they're going to have better perspective. And yeah, and it just works better because they're thinking of themselves. We're human. We're always thinking
Yeah.
of ourselves first. Even though we want to say we're not, we are. How can I make it work for me, but also be good for everybody else? And so yeah, having that owner on the bottom of the org chart, letting the team not run things, but be critical, be the C-suite. That's important.
Well, and that buy-in impacts so many things. I mean, that impacts employee retention, that impacts employee engagement. If they feel like they're being seen, heard, understood, that sort of thing. And even when you have to make a decision that maybe doesn't align, right? Like, let's say you guys are evaluating systems and you've picked, 3 or 4 systems and they've maybe rank ordered them, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's our choices, Tabitha, right? And you don't want to pick one. There's something about one you don't like, right? So you pick two. As long as you communicate, and this is so important for leaders, communicate, communicate. Anytime you're making a change, walk the people through, like, why did you choose this? How did you choose this? Explain it to them verbally, say it in a letter, make a little video. People receive information differently. And when you're going through a change and it's a stressful change, you've got to hear the same information like 7 times, before it, resonates with you. So as a leader, it's really important to communicate the why you made the decision, and how that's going to play out. Because there might be factors that you, as the owner or the CEO, know that your employees don't know.
Yeah.
And so the more you can explain the why, and you don't have to tell them everything. I
Right.
mean, there's a whole transparency thing, right? Like, you tell them what they need to know. You don't have to tell them everything, but helping them understand why a change is happening is huge.
Yeah. Yeah. I've got a client recently that they did not understand. So we do a roadmap with clients. Here's what it looks like to scale your business to where you want it, your vivid vision. Here's the roadmap. I'll lay that out for them. They were like, well, we're not going to share that with the team. Why wouldn't you?
How you
Why
going to
would
get there
you?
without them?
Yeah, they're the ones who's going to do the work. They're the ones who are going to take the steps. You have to share it with them. But that's my personal goals. Yes, your business is your personal goal, is your life, but they're the ones who make it happen. You got to share, you've got to communicate your why, your steps. Like you said, it doesn't have to be every single step. They don't need to know the backside of I don't know, every little detail, but they need to know the big picture. They need to know your vivid vision, because they can't see it, then they're not going to go there. They're going to go to their own. So you have to have that laid out and shared with your important team. So if you've got someone who's just a task doer, maybe, but I still say you still share it with them. Even the janitor should know why NASA is putting a rocket on the moon. Just saying, because it's important. They're going to clean the toilets better. They're going to make sure things are clean and sanitized, because they understand the importance of what the company means, the impact they're having on the whole community or world. And of course, that's a big example, but I'm just
But
just
no, I
saying.
mean, if you're the janitor and you're working at NASA and
Yeah.
you're cleaning, and all of a sudden you find a nut or a bolt or some part, some tiny
Yeah.
little part, like most of us cleaning, some of us have junk drawers and we just throw it in the junk drawer because we know it came from somewhere,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But you might just throw it in the trash. Whereas a janitor at NASA, the process might actually be they've got to go return it to somebody. Hey, here's this, nut, bolt, screw, whatever this piece is. I found it in hallway blank of whatever building, because that might have fallen out of something. It might actually be important. And
Yeah.
when you're talking about sending people to space, it could be a matter of life and death.
Yes.
And so, like, yeah, everybody, and I think you said this on a podcast I've seen of yours, we need everybody, right?
Yes.
And I loved that, because I've done so much diversity, equity, inclusion work over the past, 5, 7 years. And when you said we need everybody, I was like, yes, like that applies in so many situations.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, with the leader and the roadmap, do you think there was a fear of saying, like, this is my goal and it's so big, and if we get there, I don't know, maybe I'm gonna hit 1 million, and they didn't want people to know that? Or like a fear of, what if I don't hit the goal? Like,
Yeah. And you're exactly that. It's fear. First of all, it's fear. And it was, what if I fail? What if I fail? I've told them this is what I want and I fail, then I look like a failure because I didn't meet my goals. But here's the thing, you're going to be a failure, because if they're not on the trip with you, they're going to fight you because they don't know. They
right.
think, okay, I'll come up with my own vivid vision. Here's where I'm going. So they might be going to California, but you're going to New York. Guess what? Things are going to fall apart. So,
They're gonna fall
yeah,
apart before you leave Texas.
before you leave Texas.
But and so this is the perfect example probably of, how what one function is doing in a C-suite impacts another function, right? Because where my brain immediately went with this is, okay, but you could do a profit sharing. You could do a bonus. You want to get these people on the road with you, get them on the map, get them in the bus.
Yeah.
You want them, you want to meet your goals and not be a failure? Get them in the bus with you and incentivize them to do it, right? Okay, if we hit X number by the end of the year, then everybody gets a $500 bonus and I'll pay it on, or if we hit it by, say, November 30th, right? I'll pay it on December 1st. Everybody can use it for the holidays or what.
Right.
You know, you find ways and you know, in larger companies they do it with percents, right? They do the bonus as a percent. Maybe it's 3%, 10%. The higher you climb the ladder, it's 10%, 15, 20, right? But maybe as a small business owner, you can't do that, right? Because you don't know what the percent, you don't know, I don't know what the dollar's going to be, what if the percent's too high, blah, blah, blah. So you do the 500, right? Or you do, hey, what about this? Everybody gets an extra week off next year. If we hit this goal, right? Because maybe your goal can't be November 30th. Maybe you're retail, right? You need that Black Friday, you need that Cyber Monday. Maybe you're nonprofit, you need Giving Tuesday, right? So you need to count all those days. So maybe it can't be till December 31st. But if we meet this goal, I'm going to give everybody an extra 5 days off the following year. Flexibility, creativity, working together as a C-suite, you can come up with a lot of ideas that really help your retention, your loyalty, your engagement, all those things.
Yeah. Yeah. I get a lot of HR questions with, oh, well, how much can we, well, of course they come to me for how much can we afford to pay someone, right? They're hiring a new team member. I always turn back. Well, first of all, let's talk about not what you can afford, but what you need. You need to know who the right team member is that you need to add. And then what's the market cost for that person? You know, and I'm like, everybody's different because there are single moms who can jam out stuff in 25 hours that somebody else might take 40 because they need that security of 40 hours. But which one, you know, can you save some money there? You got to find the right person first. But I think, like you're saying, that's the big thing is the flexibility. So offering 2 weeks, Christmas to New Year's being closed in an office. You let your patients, or not your patients, sorry, your clients or customers or whatever know this is our family time. This is we're taking off. The critical things will still get done in the back, you know, in the behind the scenes, but we're going to be closed. That can be invaluable to people because they know they get this time. Did I say Christmas to New Year's?
Yes.
Okay, I'll make sure I didn't say Thanksgiving to Christmas, but that'd be great too.
I'll take that.
I know, but we call it our flex break. So we don't work, but we make sure payrolls get done. Whatever reports have to still be done, those get done and deadlines are still met, but we don't do the everyday just grinding and getting as much ahead as possible. We're just looking at, hey, this is a break. We make sure this gets done and this gets done on these 2 days. But other than that, we're done. So just that flexibility, offering that can get you someone at a lower compensation because they're willing to do that because whatever reason, you know, that I know a lot of people that do 4th of July firework booths. That's their family thing. They like to take off for like 2 to 3 weeks or whatever the time frame is to do their booth. So if you give them, yes, every year you can take that off, paid, whatever you want to, however you want to offer it. And they may be like, good, I'll take less salary because I'm willing to do that to have that flexibility. So that's again where it's important. The C-suite services that we offer is it's a whole, like you said, it's a whole system. Everything affects everything. Yes, it affects my budgets. It affects the financials when you make a decision on this team member. It also affects that person when we make this financial decision. Everything goes into hand to hand. So a CFO and HR, CHRO.
CHRO. Some people call it a CPO, a Chief People Officer.
Yeah. Okay. All of those, they are your most two critical. The operations is critical too, because that's who's implementing the workflow. But the HR and the financial, they just go hand in hand because everything, like your logo, goes together in a circle. It all comes right back around to everything, and everything's included in that circle. So there's not one decision that you can make about a team, about your team or whatever, and financial that does not affect each other. So you have to have that mindset to look at both sides. And most CEOs they're more the COO. They're the operational, they get it done. Here's the result I want. That's the idea, is the CEO gives the result, the COO makes it happen. The CFO and the CHRO make sure everything's aligned and meets budget or has the money for it, those kind of things. So it's just like, that's the whole beauty of the C-suite. And small businesses need to stop thinking they can't have that. We are here for that. They can't.
Well,
and they
and
should.
just to expand on your example, if someone's listening and going, oh my goodness, there's no way I could close from Christmas to New Year's, that's my busiest time. Okay, let's go back to this circle example, right? Go to your CFO and say, hey, Tab, what are the 2 weeks of the year that are the slowest?
Yep.
Right?
And
Because
nobody's
she
gonna
may
miss
be,
this.
well, you may be able to look at expenses or sales or some other financial factor and say, well, it actually looks like July 1st through the July 15th for the past 3 years are actually like our lowest sales. Okay, guess what? Close those 2 weeks.
Yep.
Now people don't have to use vacation because you're closing those 2 weeks, right? And they can use those, 5 days of PTO or whatever to go see their kid in the play or go deal with the sick child, right? So doing that shutdown is huge. I mean, Lockheed Martin, some of the locations I worked at, they did the Christmas to New Year's shutdown. And it was great because everybody was off. And it usually aligns with the school schedule, So I was going to give you another quick example of a flexibility. I know we're coming up on time here. So when my son used to go to the orthodontist, I used to get so frustrated because they were never open when school was closed.
Right.
And so my son
They run off of the school schedule.
Yeah, so my son does not like to miss school. And so I was always trying to schedule it when school was closed. And I, of course, was looking at it from what was the perspective you mentioned earlier? Me.
Yours.
This would be more convenient for me if you were open when school was closed. And he went to the orthodontist, you go at least 2 years. I don't know. We might have been going for 3. But it was something like towards the end that clicked in my head. I'm like, oh, how did I not catch on to this? I'm looking at this from my single mom perspective. If I put on my HR hat, he's doing the right thing. He has dental hygienists working for him. They all look to be fairly young women, right? They're probably getting married, having babies, like at that stage of their life, right? So they want to be off when school is closed. And so he's doing the right thing for his business, right? For his business, he's giving them off every holiday, right? And they're happy, they're content, they're loyal, they're engaged. They're going to keep working for him because they don't want to miss out on their holidays. Does it piss a couple customers off? Well, maybe. But guess what? I am already committed to you. You already got the braces on. I'm coming anyhow.
Yeah. And so that's why I did my business that way. I was a single mom. So I worked around the school schedule. I wanted to be home. If she was out of school, I'm going to be home from work. And so that's how I set up my business. But then years later, figured out we don't need to be here. We get the stuff done like in off hours, as the person who handles the face-to-face might need to be there, but that could be 2 people sharing that, so just it's different perspectives, and we're always looking from us first, ourselves.
Yes. Well, and just like you said, 2 people share that. I mean, I think this was a concept back in the 80s, job sharing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like we don't hear that term much anymore. I definitely think it was like a kind of 80s thing, right? It was the power suits and the moms and the tennis shoes with the power suits on, And but job sharing is essentially that. You got a 40-hour job, but you've got 2 people that can work part-time or they can work 30 hours. And guess what? Giving them that flexibility and allowing them to do that, they're going to be more committed to you, more loyal to you,
Yes.
So don't be afraid to, just like fashion, right? Fashion comes back around at some point. Don't be afraid to use some old concepts.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. Okay, well, we are about at time, and we can do this all day,
We
apparently.
could.
I already feel like I'm making notes over to myself. I feel like we should do like a quarterly thing with Jamie, and we just kind of delve into it and have one of the things where we could have branched off, like we just branch off. So we might have to talk about that later.
Okay.
Stay tuned,
I like
y'all. I
it.
might be able to convince these ladies to do that. I do want to ask one question that we usually try to ask of our guests is if you were reading a book currently that you're enjoying, you're thinking it has useful information, or if you're listening to a podcast or something, we kind of ask everyone to share that. Just because you never know what it could possibly open up for someone else. So do you have anything you're reading or listening to currently, Jamie?
So I had a feeling you were going to ask me this because I watched the podcast before. So I actually grabbed, a set of books here. So this book was recommended to me. I don't know if you can see it. Let me hold it at an angle. Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller. So actually a fellow female entrepreneur. She's also a member of WCE, Women's Council of Entrepreneurs, had recommended this book to me. So when I went to buy it, I could buy it by itself or I could buy it as a set of 3. So I was like, I'll buy it as a set of 3, right? So I started reading this book and I was probably only a chapter, maybe 2 in. And she said, hey, I'm going to do a book club. Do you want to join my book club? And I said, oh, okay, well, what's the book? And she said, well, it's Donald Miller. And then it was this book. And I was like, oh, snap, I just bought it as part of 3 books. So yeah, let's do that. So I put down Building a Story Brand and I got this one. And we did a virtual book club. So it was like 6 or 7 women across Texas, different parts of Texas. The lady that started it facilitated. We met weekly. I don't know what, day and time, but we met weekly. And so our homework each week, she would assign chapters. So, one week it might be 1 chapter or it might be, 2 chapters, but that really worked for me because I'm really bad about being structured to read a book. So to be like, oh, I only have to read 1 or 2 chapters, in the next 6 days, and then I'm going to get on a call and discuss it with people. Like having that deadline was good for me because then I actually, read it and did it and whatever. So I have read this one entirely. Have I done everything I'm supposed to? Not yet. But I will say this one has like worksheets in it. So they're small, they're like book size. I'm sure I don't know if you can see that.
Yep.
So there's different worksheets in all the different chapters. And I'm sure you could just like make a copy and make it bigger if it was kind of small, but like here's another one. I don't know if you can see that with the glare. But it's not just reading, it's actual like worksheets and workbooks that, you can go through. And then this is the other one that came in the 3-pack, but I haven't even started that one yet. So, so those will be my 3 that, I'll be working on here. And then as far as podcasts, I have not gotten into podcasts. People say, oh, listen to it when you drive or, whatever. I'm a music girl. And so I like to listen to music. But I will say there's this guy on YouTube and he's called Gary V. I had to look up his last name because I thought you might ask me his last name, but it's Vaynerchuk.
Yep.
Yeah. And so I think he just goes by Gary V on YouTube.
Yeah.
And so I did something like to turn on notifications or something. And so when he posts something on YouTube, I'll get a notification on my phone. Now, sometimes he'll post something that's an hour long. So I'll click on it. I'll see it's an hour and I'm like, swipe, not watching that. But he does a lot of clips that are like a minute, minute and a half, 2 minutes. And they're just like a little snippet of maybe a podcast he's done or a convention he's been at. And I find those so helpful because I can stop for a minute or 2, and watch a clip or watch it while I'm eating lunch or, whatever. And it's just those little nuggets. And I feel like those nuggets you would have to pull out, of a longer podcast. So you can just turn on notifications, get your little Gary V notifications on your phone and get little nuggets from him.
Yeah, he is
Like,
chock full of that. So
yes.
that's a good
Gary
way to
V
do
is
it,
one I
honestly.
follow, as well as Garrett Gunderson. You should add him. That's the
Okay.
financial side. So
Repeat the last part after his name.
Garrett Gunderson, he is the financial side. So he's
okay.
a financial guru. Yeah. I hope to be bigger than him one day.
Well, Vanessa and I will say we knew her when.
Yes.
That's it. Exactly. That's the ticket. That's the ticket.
Yeah.
Tabitha, what about you?
Yes, ma'am. I had a friend recommend, how do I get there? There it is. The Knight in Rusty Armor.
There you go.
So yeah, it's about us who love to save everybody at our own detriment, even. So that's one
Appropriate.
of the things I'm always working on because I am a natural giver and connector, and I want to include everybody and everything. And that's not always healthy. So it's a good little easy read story that just talks about the emotions and the why behind it, then our heart and things like that, and how we reach out to God and find out what we're really supposed to be doing. So yeah.
I like it. Very good.
Thanks.
I have a podcast to talk about. It is called, Build Your Business from Fear to Freedom. Because that's what we talk about so much is building the business, but what are all the things that are holding everyone back? What is everyone afraid of? All of that, so this gets into that, talking about small business owners, entrepreneurs, all that, and just kind of telling stories and like we do here. So people are like, oh, that happened to me too.
Yeah.
Oh, I struggle with that. Oh, I'm not alone.
Yes.
And here we are. So that's a good one for anybody who's just needs to hear something different, or maybe hear that they are not alone.
And we have launched our podcast. So this is now, we're going to have our guest sessions will be on Apple and Spotify moving forward.
Ooh.
Yes. So
Yeah,
now we can be
wild.
one of the podcasts.
Yeah, because once upon a time we just talked. I was like, man, we should do a podcast because we
Yes.
just talk about this all the time.
Yes.
Ta-da! Here we
Yeah.
are. So yes, we have a great techie guy named Josh who
Oh yes.
makes
Josh
that
is
part
our
happen for us. We just do this. Josh does all the stuff. We love him.
Perfect example of giving the right people the right job to do, right?
Yes. Yeah.
You want me to
Yes.
edit a video? It's going to take me days.
No,
I got to
yes.
figure it out.
No.
Exactly. Yeah, you just ask and Josh poof makes it happen.
Yeah.
So
And sometimes I
amazing.
don't even have to ask. I just go, oh, this thing. He goes, I'll take care of it. I'm like, yay.
Yep. That's it. Absolutely. Definitely. He's in his sweet spot for sure. Okay. Well, Jamie, thank you. We want to
Yes, thank you.
share our appreciation for you taking the time to join us and talk with us and give us your pearls of wisdom and remind us that everything is a circle and we can revive the old things, but we can't do any of this without all the people in the circle. So do with that what y'all will. I think this one was chock full of information. And so this is going to be available in the tribe. This is going to be turned into a podcast. So if anyone has questions, y'all can message us, send us emails, all the things. And these two ladies are available to help you grow your business the right way. Thank y'all very much. We appreciate you.
Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving.
Yes.
Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving, y'all.